Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with a Spain news update. And according to international magazine The Economist, democracy here in Spain is not under threat. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation or by buying me a beer or a coffee. And many thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your ongoing support. And if you like these videos and what I do on this channel, please consider supporting it. There are links in the description below on how you can become a patron or how you can buy me a coffee. Now, let's get into the news. And as I said, international magazine The Economist has written about the constitutional crisis that we currently have here in Spain. But according to The Economist, democracy is not under threat. As we can read here, a court standoff in Spain leads to wild talk of a coup. The Spanish are given to political hyperbole. For weeks, politicians of all stripes have been warning of dire threats to democracy. On December the 19th, after the country's constitutional court voted 6-5 along political lines on a crucial rule of law issue, many described it as a coup. In a parliamentary debate before the vote, a socialist MP compared the situation to the Spanish armed forces' attempt to seize power in 1981. This is an exaggeration. The conflict at the Constitutional Court centres on who has the power to appoint its judges. Still, the gloommongers have a point. No one is massing tanks or seizing radio stations, but the country is in its biggest institutional mess since Catalonia staged an illegal independence referendum in 2017. The current standoff has its roots in that referendum. Catalonia, a wealthy region in northeast Spain, has nurtured a secession movement for decades, but its leaders had never put the question to a vote. So talks of a coup here in Spain, according to The Economist, an exaggeration or political hyperbole. Yes, there is a constitutional crisis. Yes, Spain does have its problems when it comes to democracy, but there aren't tanks rolling down the street like there were back in 1981. So a clear message here and fairly easy to understand: don't listen to Spanish politicians on either side of politics. Now, keeping on the subject of the constitutional crisis here in Spain, the European Union has weighed in on the matter. And as we can see here, Brussels backs the Constitutional Court. Major reforms require prior consultation, they say. The European Commission considers that reforms of judicial systems in member states should always be subject to prior consultation with interested parties, including the judiciary, and expects Spain to comply with European standards, which in practice means Brussels' support for the actions of the Constitutional Court. The EU executive is following the situation in Spain very closely and is aware of the Constitutional Court's decision to suspend the processing in the Senate of the reform of the Penal Code, which includes the abolition of the crime of sedition and changes to the system for electing the Constitutional Court itself, the EU spokesman for Justice, Christian Wigan, said at a press conference. So fairly clear who Brussels is supporting in this crisis. As we saw there, they're on the side of the Constitutional Court because, as they said, major reforms require prior consultation. Makes sense, but tell that to Pedro Sanchez and company. Now, turning to the subject of European funds, it seems that Spain has put its hand up to receive more European money. As we can read here, Spain to request over 84 billion euros in fresh EU funds, mostly loans. The Spanish government will ask the European Union for loans worth 84 billion euros or $89.1 billion and a further 7.7 billion euros in grants as part of the bloc's COVID-19 recovery package, Economy Minister Nadia Calviño said on Tuesday. This means Spain will seek its full allotment under the European Pandemic Relief Package, worth a total of over 800 billion euros, as well as use 2.6 billion euros in the new Repower EU aid aimed at improving energy security in Europe following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The government estimates that the EU grants and loans will, on average, add 2.6 percentage points to gross domestic product annually through 2031. We are almost certainly going to have higher growth this year than we had predicted in the budget for 2023, Calviño told a news conference without elaborating. So 84 billion euros in fresh EU funds going to hit Spain in 2023. And as usual, it will be interesting to see where the government spends this money, considering that 2023 is an election year here in Spain. Now, the topic of Spaniards and fluency in foreign languages is making headlines again today. And as we can see, young Spaniards are not prepared for the world of work. More than 50% admit to speaking no English at all. 56.5% of young people aged between 10 and 19 say they speak no English at all. The figure falls very slightly to 55.5% for those aged between 20 and 29 and rises to 70% for those over 30. These are the striking and alarming results of the survey on essential characteristics of the population and dwellings of the National Statistics Institute, which reveal the notable lack of preparation of young people for one of the most common requirements of the labour market. In addition, only around 30% of citizens aged between 10 and 29 say they speak English well, while the remainder speak it, albeit with difficulty. And if you move up the age scale, this situation becomes more acute. That is, the number of people who cannot speak English at all is growing noticeably. So some interesting information coming out of that survey, and it is, apparently, when it comes to foreign languages, especially English here in Spain, the country's going backwards. And why that is, I've got absolutely no idea, but if you've got an opinion, please let us know in the comment section below. And the final piece of news today relates to a topic that we have spoken about many times on this channel over the years, whether or not to leave a tip at bars and restaurants here in Spain. As we can read here, more tips or better wages. Madrid campaign opens debate on this payment in the lowest paid services. At the beginning of Quentin Tarantino's famous film Reservoir Dogs, the group of robbers in black suits get into an argument because one of them, Mr. Pink, does not want to leave a tip for the waitress who served them coffee. Mr. Pink does not believe in obligatory tipping. Why do I have to tip the waitress here and not the waitress who serves me at McDonald's? Spain is not the United States, where tipping is almost a constitutional right and, in many cases, makes up the bulk of a waiter's salary, with the employer then compensating the remaining part up to a minimum wage. No, this is not the case in Spain. Tipping is neither obligatory nor suggested on the bill. Spaniards normally tip waiters, taxi drivers and hairdressers. It is a way of saying thank you for good service. In some cases, it's small change. In other cases, as in the case of large meals, larger amounts of money. So the endless debate of whether to tip or not here in Spain when you go to a bar or a restaurant also being had by the Spanish population. Interesting. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Outdoor Chilled. Great. Once again, the poor with older roadworthy cars pay the price. Really great, Spain. After 2 years of pandemic and now inflation, let's prohibit old cars. So more poor people have to get a credit, if they can, to get a new car to get to work. Also, older cars are still allowed outside the big cities. Do they really think pollution respects city limit signs? It's all about the money and taxes, and not only in Spain, but in most EU countries. The Outdoor Chilled, thanks for the comment, and this is also a debate that has been raging on the channel recently about these new ZBE areas in Spanish cities, low emission zones, zonas de bajas emisiones, which are popping up around the country, especially in cities with more than 50,000 people. In big cities here in Spain, these low emissions areas have been in place for a while. For example, if you come to Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, other big cities like that, you will have seen low emissions areas. But now more and more cities here in Spain, especially some of the smaller cities, are jumping on board with these ZBEs. And you're right, if you've got an old car here in Spain and you can't afford a new one, you're going to have no choice but to take public transport, because older cars basically are going to be banned from city centres. The majority of rich people here in Spain won't have a problem because they are already driving electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles or vehicles that allow them to travel into the city centres. But for poorer people here in Spain, it's going to be a huge problem. In fact, I would say that for a large majority of Spanish people, it's going to be an issue. One here from Lisbeth. How old do the cars have to be? I have one from 2000. Yeah, Lisbeth, thanks for the comment, and related to the first comment that we saw from Outdoor Chilled about these new ZBE areas in Spanish cities and the fact that a lot of cars, especially older vehicles here in Spain, won't be able to travel into the centre of cities. As we know, local governments here are encouraging people to put a sticker on their car which classifies the vehicle according to its emissions. And the majority of cars here in Spain fall into two categories, B and C. As we can see here, the yellow B sticker is displayed on older vehicles, that is, those equipped with petrol engines registered from January 2000 or diesel engines from January 2006. The green sticker, on the other hand, with the C inside it, is issued to vehicles that comply with Euro 4, 5 and 6 petrol and Euro 6 diesel standards. These are passenger cars and light commercial vehicles with petrol engines registered since January 2006 and diesel since 2014. So in your case, Lisbeth, if your car from the year 2000 is a gasoline model, you should be able to get a sticker, but if it's a diesel, you won't. And if you can't get a sticker, you will not be able to drive into the city centres of cities that have these ZBEs in place. So I hope that information helps, and if anybody else has a doubt, please let me know in the comment section below. One here from Pete: do they park and ride into all cities in Spain? Yeah, Pete, thanks for the comment, and to tell you the truth, I'm not sure about all cities here in Spain, but I know that in big cities, the concept of park and ride does exist. For example, where I live here on the outskirts of Madrid, a lot of people do park and ride. They leave their cars at the local train station or metro station, then hop on a train or a bus and head off to work. And I think this would be the case in most of the cities that sit on the outskirts of big cities like Madrid or Barcelona. But when it comes to smaller cities, I'm not sure. But no doubt in future years, when it becomes even harder to use your car, if not impossible to use your car, I'm sure that more park and ride options will pop up around the country. One here from Susanna: very nice about the €300 subsidy, but where are the 200 they offered before? Yes, Susanna, thanks for the comment. Not sure about that subsidy that you are talking about there, that €200 subsidy, given that there have been so many subsidies offered by the Spanish government and local governments here in Spain over the last 2 or 3 years, ever since COVID basically. But what I will say is that I have heard many people here in Spain complain about just how difficult it is to get these subsidies. Sure, the government puts them out there, but getting your hands on them is another question. And when it comes to this new €300 subsidy that the government is planning to offer next year, apparently, to help people with their food bills, nothing official yet, it's only been reported in a couple of press outlets here, but the idea is to take away the fuel subsidy and replace it with a cheque for €300 that should reach around 10 million people in the middle class here in Spain. But as I said, not sure when it's going to come into effect, how it's going to work, or who exactly is going to be able to access it. But hopefully there won't be too many bureaucratic hurdles. One here from Jason: hi, will the LEZ apply to rental cars? I am visiting Costa Blanca in May 2023 and renting from Sticks. Yeah, Jason, thanks for the comment. As far as I know, most rental cars here in Spain are fairly new, so you shouldn't have a problem driving them in city centres here in Spain with these new ZBE zones or LEZ zones in place. And I think also if you stay in a hotel or accommodation in one of these areas that has restrictions, the hotel normally takes care of the paperwork and they allow you to park your car close to the hotel. I think last year or the year before, I went to a city that had restrictions in place. I gave my license details to the hotel and they took care of everything for me. But like I said, with a rental car, I don't think you're going to have a problem. And finally, one here from Stacar: in Valencia we have Bobal. I do love that variety, a Valencia only variety. Yes, Stacar, thanks for the comment, and the word Bobal obviously referring to a grape variety here in Spain, which apparently is found not only in Valencia but also in Castilla-La Mancha as well, and it's one of the many grape varieties in this country. Unfortunately, a lot of people only drink Tempranillo, which is probably the most famous grape variety here in Spain, but there are plenty of others and well worth a try. Mencia from the north of Spain is one of my personal favourites, and one of my favourite hobbies here in Spain is to find different types of wine. In fact, that could be a good idea for a video. Grape varieties in different wine regions here in Spain. So I'll look into it. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.